Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to do is to talk about the influence of Breguet watches by Daniel Roth. Now, what Roth wanted to do and what Breguet wanted them to do was to sort of get a shot in the arm, and as much as possible, they wanted their watches to reflect the kind of quality and style that Abraham Louis Breguet had when he first started. Now, here are a couple watches before Breguet. You have, on the one hand, you have the Type 20, which is still popular, and it hasn't changed that much. There have been some changes both on the dial and inside. And the same with the Classique. A lot of the features of the Classique are still around. But what Roth did was to add a lot more to it than that. Now, he worked with a guy, the Chaumet brothers bought Breguet. And in fact, I think Daniel Roth was with him for, I think it was 14 years, something like that. And so when he started, he and Francois Breguet worked together, and it was one of these things that you had Breguet in the managerial position and sort of taking care of stuff, whereas Daniel Roth was a watchmaker, and it was a really good relationship, and where you have somebody who does all of the kinds of things that watchmakers don't like to do and aren't very good at, and you have a watchmaker that gets along with the management, then some really magic things happen. One of the first and most popular watches that Roth made for Breguet was the Breguet 3130. And you can still find 3130s today. If you go to the Breguet site, you look it up, and you can find brand new ones. They still make that. It's a wonderful watch. There's a power reserve indicator between 10 and 11, a moon phase at between 1 and 2, and then at 6 o'clock there's a 31-day hand date, and then of course the main hands are Breguet hands, which is bigger and smaller one. This is a very, very cool watch. Now, the kinds of things that Roth wanted to have, and he felt that it reflected Abraham Breguet, was they wanted a flat, elegant, chic, refined look to their watch. They wanted superb finishing on it, guilloche. They wanted round cases. This was something that's sort of interesting, because I have a Daniel Roth, and they have this unusually named case. Then they wanted the straight lugs, and then the what's called the case band fluting along the edge of the case. You can see it in the lower right down there. They have these little fluting lines around it. So those were things, and the examples of guilloche. There's a lot of it throughout the entire, all within the special dials and so forth. Now, in addition, and this was very important, what Daniel Roth brought to it, two things in particular. One was a perpetual calendar, reference 3050BA. Now, this was smaller back then. It was 36 millimeters. And so with 36 millimeters, you had to make a lot smaller movement, which takes a lot more skill, which Roth fortunately had. Same thing with a tourbillon. People weren't making tourbillons at that time. And watch companies didn't have that part of their line of watches. Now, this is all before sort of the new wave came in with Michel Parmigiani and F.P. Journe and Kari Voutilanen. This was before all of that. And I think this was one of the reasons that Daniel Roth is well respected by just about everybody in watchmaking. The work that was done then, I think, is reflected still today. But one of the things that sort of struck me about this was the great relationship between sort of the guy who was making the watches and designing the watches, and then the Breguet on the management side. If you have those two guys, two roles working together, man, I tell you can do some great things, and I think they have here. And you can see it today reflected in the Breguet watches. Well, listen, I'd like to hear what you have to think about this and any comments you have. Of course, this is an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Side, the Art and Science of Watch Collection.